Just look at the smirk on Putin's face. The one-on-one meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin could not have gone better for Putin. To summarize, Trump repeatedly failed to hold Putin accountable for, well, anything. And when directly asked by US reporters about Russian interference in the 2016 election, guess what Trump talked about? Hillary Clinton's emails. But he didn't express remorse for directly asking Russia to hack into her emails back in 2016. No, over the course of about 45 minutes, Trump repeatedly refused to criticize Russia for their interference in the election. He showed that he would rather talk about the margin of his electoral college win than about the 12 Russian intelligence officers who were indicted just 3 days ago by his US Department of Justice for hacking the computer networks of members of the Clinton campaign and the DNC. Trump was offered many chances to condemn or criticize Russia for this, and he didn't, not once. Trump is Putin's useful American idiot, and I'm not calling Trump an idiot for the sake of it. That's an actual term. In politics, a useful idiot means a person who is unwittingly used as a propagandist for a cause, in this case, Putin's Russia, when that person is not actually fully aware of just how they're being used. As journalist James Fallow said today, Vladimir Putin cannot believe his good fortune. Here are all the things that Trump didn't bring up in terms of holding Russia accountable. Number 1, Crimea and Ukraine. Trump has repeatedly criticized President Obama over the Russian annexation of Crimea in 2014. Let me repeat that. Trump has criticized Obama over something the Russian government did. And he didn't utter the words Crimea or Ukraine when actually standing next to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Number 2, Novichok. Remember that a UK woman has died recently due to the Soviet-era nerve agent Novichok being deployed on UK soil, in the case of the poisoning of former double spy Sergei Skripal. That didn't come up once in the press conference at all. Number 3, MH17. There was no mention of the passenger plane that was shot down over eastern Ukraine in 2014, killing all 298 people on board. The G7 leaders put out a statement just before the summit saying Russia must be held accountable for it. Trump didn't mention it. And number 4, the Pussy Riot protesters who were detained after last night's World Cup final and who are awaiting trial for their protest on the pitch. Trump complimented Putin over Russia's hosting of the World Cup many times, but of course this didn't come up. Meanwhile, here are the things that Trump did talk about. Hillary Clinton's emails. It's 2018. We are never going to stop hearing about them. The DNC server. He asked repeatedly where it is, even though we know. Our intelligence agencies have copies of that server. The FBI investigation and Mueller. And Trump called it a nuisance for America, saying it's driving a wedge between the US and Russia. Because it's the FBI that's doing that, not the actual Russian intelligence members hacking US campaign systems. And of course, he talked about his electoral college win. These are all things we could have predicted he might talk about because he loves to talk about them, period. But in a parallel universe that is normal, no one would have expected the US president to talk about them at this meeting. And don't forget, this was the joint press conference after their 2-hour one-on-one private meeting, where no aides were present and therefore no notes were taken. If this is what Trump said in public regarding Russia's behavior, just imagine what he said in private. But it's also not just rhetoric that Americans should be concerned about. We are coming up fast on the pivotal 2018 midterm elections. And not only do we have a president who fails to acknowledge that our last big election was in any way compromised, he's gone ahead and eliminated the position of White House cybersecurity coordinator, despite warnings from pretty much every intelligence leader ever that attempted hackings and influence campaigns will happen again. Trump is constantly going against what his own intelligence community has concluded, and he's even gone against what his own advisors and staff wanted to get out of this summit. Beforehand, the U.S. ambassador to Russia, John Huntsman, said the point of this meeting was to, quote, hold the Russians accountable for what they did. The ambassador has a literal vested interest in upholding diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Russia, but even he admits there is the fact of interference to deal with. So the president, contrary to his own ambassador, national security advisors, and Department of Justice, still will not admit that. After everything that's happened, I don't actually believe that Trump is a Kremlin-controlled asset. But considering that he takes Putin at his word when he denies any Russian aggression or interference, he may as well be. Despite all the things that they didn't talk about, there were other things in the press conference that are worth mentioning. Putin and Trump talked about Syria and nuclear weapons. These are all things we're going to be diving into the Russia desk later this week. But we want to know what your biggest questions are after the press conference and after seeing them standing and talking to each other side by side. So let us know in the comments what you want to hear more about, and we'll be sure to get back to you guys. Thanks for watching the Russia desk.